and welcome to Let's Talk, where we discuss love, life, and the lights. Today, we are here wrapping up our relationship series with what you all have asked for, our married couples. We are super excited to have you guys on with us, and we will have each couple introduce themselves, starting in the order that I see. Fredline and Charles.
Hey guys, we are the Pierres. I'm Fredline.
I'm Charles.
And we've been married for 7 years. And we are traditional. Like we have 3 children together.
Yes, yeah. We're our age differences are 14 years apart. Yes. I'm 44, she's 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's us, the Pierres.
Next couple, we have DJ and Mia.
Hi, I'm DJ, and this is my lovely wife, Mia Daly. We've been married for this December will be 25 years, and we're a traditional family.
And last, but definitely not least, we have Richard and Florida.
Hey, I'm Florida.
And I'm Richard.
We have 10 kids, blended family, 9. I'm adding kids. I'm adding my nieces and nephews, but yeah, we have 9 kids together. We're a blended family.
I have 4 previous.
Yeah, and I have 1 previous as well. So
and we have 4 together.
And 4 together. So we've been together for 12 years, been married for 12 or whatever, and yeah, we're just making it do what it do.
All right, so this is a good mix. So we have 7, 12, and 25. So we about to get with it.
All right. So thank you all for joining us. We do definitely appreciate your time. Can you give each of you all give us a brief history of your love story? How did this develop? How did the 7 years, 25 and 12 year come into fruition? Charles and Fredline?
Okay. We go to the same church, and we joined the same ministry together. And she wasn't even on my radar. We just started talking, and we went on a texting marathon one day. Her car kind of broke down, and I kind of told her, okay, I'll take you to work. And then from there, she was, asking me that I make it home. And I said, I'm good. And we just started texting for like 3 months straight. And then I'm like saying to myself, wait a minute, am I taking a liking to this girl? Because we texting like night and day, sleeping 3 hours between one another, and we're still texting. I'm like, why is she texting me and I'm texting her? So I was like, God, if this is you, make it happen. And we just started talking, and all of a sudden, like, you want to be my girlfriend? She's like, yeah. Like, okay.
And how did you know she was your wife? When did that happen?
Okay, so we had a function. One of our church leaders was leaving the ministry, and we had a function at my house. And she was like, well, since we have the function at my house, she wanted to cook. And so it was, she started cooking, and I saw the all of the wifey abilities of her during that time. I said, okay, well, I didn't have a list, but I just started checking certain things off. I'm like, okay, she knows how to cook. She's a beautiful woman. She's very caring. She looks kind of submissive. And I mean, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but, she looked like she's the type of person who's well with children. I heard she grew up with raising her nephews and nieces. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this looked like that's a good fit. And she's young, she didn't have any kids. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is something I think we can flourish into a relationship and potentially marriage.
But before that, you actually thought I was a lesbian.
Wait. Okay, we'll get back to that.
He thought I was a lesbian, y'all, because when I first came to the church, I had short hair and my hair was blonde. I had a tongue pierced. My tongue was pierced. I had 4 ear piercings on each ear. So before he saw those features, he, like when we were texting or whatever, he was like, you wasn't really my type. I actually thought you was a lesbian because of all of these things that I had. So yeah, let's say that too.
Okay. So let's move on to our 12-year couple, Richard in Florida.
Hey, well, our story go back to, I believe, middle school. Florida had a crush on me. Yeah, there was a group of us, a group of friends. She had a crush on me, didn't realize it, but I didn't want to pursue it because her brother and my brother's like best friends. Her dad and my dad was real cool, and her moms and my moms used to kick it back in their time, back in their country. So it was too close to home, you know. I'm like, nah, I'm all right. And as the years went by, I seen Florida a couple of years back. I believe about 5 years went by or so. We was in the senior. I seen a lot, man, she really developed into herself, but didn't pursue it. I believe within that time, I was trying to put her down actually with my friend. So I just, I used to go to her house every night and just trying to put my friend in, hey, my friend like you, etc. But didn't realize, I knew she liked me, but, I didn't pay no mind to it because I knew my friend liked her. Fast forward, 10 years went by, a decade or so.
Yeah, probably a decade.
By a decade, I was over the road driver. I was an over road driver. I came in town, went to one of the churches that my friend invited me to, where Flo was attending at the time as well. And we met each other, and then we just started hanging out. Came down here full time because of the situation that happened with a family member. And we started going to the gym, and then one thing led to another. We hooked up.
Doing Bible study after we did the gym, right? Fake Bible study.
She say fake Bible study.
All right now.
That was us to get together or whatever, spend some time with each other, but we didn't know that it was going to go into a relationship. But it was like, okay, we're already going to the gym, let's do some Bible study too, you feel me? But yeah, and then
Bible study.
Lord led.
But how did you know that she was your wife, Richard?
Actually, the first time she stole from me. Actually, what I mean by that, I've been to a lot of relationships because I be the relationship with my mom and my dad and things that I've seen in the past with friends and family members. I never truly gave my heart to no one. I just I allow my heart to get so far with a girl, and then I'll back up and hold it and put that guard and everything else. And somehow, some way, this young lady got through without me even noticing. She got in, she stole my heart, and from there I realized, I'm like, she's the one. I mentioned to her, thought I was joking, but it was the real deal.
Wow, that's cute.
So Mia and BJ, 25 years. If y'all can remember, what's the story?
25 years now. We tell the story a lot. It conflicts a lot, but I'm gonna let Mia tell her side of the story.
So we met at college. We woke out. He was a year older, and we actually met through a mutual friend, my best friend. And I went to school, and she had known him because he used to date one of her friends, my best friend. Okay, you got it. So when he first walked up to us on the campus, he hugged my best friend. Hey, how you doing? And then he turns to hug me. And I said, boy, I ain't hugging you. I don't know nothing about you. Okay. And he said, all I want to do is feel on your booty. That was it. He had me hooked from then on. Okay. I wish we had some grown-up romantic story, but we were so young and we have evolved over the years. We have had so many ups and downs, goods and bads. But one thing I can say we are proud of is that we still like each other. We've been together 28 years and we like hanging out with each other. We like doing this kind of stuff with each other to try to encourage other couples. And we're having fun doing life. So it hasn't been all easy, but it's been all worth it.
All right. BJ?
Hey, she's totally right. She totally right. She didn't put the different places. She used to go deep into details, but it was the same story. The story never changed. And it's just something about her when I saw her that day. Not that only did I want to feel her, but she was a little funny looking to me. But it wasn't a bad funny looking. She was like one of them. I couldn't picture I couldn't place where she was from. Because she looked like she was mixed with different background, so I couldn't. So I always said she kind of looked funny, but she was always cute. I wanted to, I just wanted.
What made her wifey material?
Well, what made her wifey material was that she was always there. She was like there for me, there with me, and things like that. I was moving a little too slow for her at the beginning, but I always knew in my heart that I wanted to be with her. But she was kind of influenced.
So let me clean that up.
Me kind of influenced.
We had a baby, and I come from a household where why would he buy the cow if he could have the milk for free? So I had this baby, and we were together, and we was shacking, and I was getting hazed by my grandma. And I'm like, I'm not gonna struggle and shack over here, and this man don't want to marry me when I could go home with my little baby and have a good life. So I told him that, and he went in the drawer, and he had put a ring on layaway, and he threw it at me. And I felt so bad.
Because the way she's trying to make it seem like, oh, she just told me that. No. This was a whole big argument, fussing, screaming, stuff getting said that shouldn't have been said, and all kind of stuff. So I got mad. So and I went and grabbed the receipt, and I threw it at her. And I see, because you impatient and don't want to wait, want to listen to other people, so on and so forth.
My grandma had my.
Okay. All right, BJ, Mia, I think y'all going a little bit ahead of us because we do have to start related to that conflict. But talk to us a little bit more similar to what you were just saying, Mia. And at this point, it's a free for all. Wherever you would like to, answer, please do so. What did you all see as far as marriage? What were the examples that you all saw in growing up? Who were those marriage, type of examples, if anyone?
I'll just jump in. We didn't have any role models. We didn't have any examples. We weren't raised in the church. We were kind of those that went to church on Easter and New Year's. So we didn't see even church marriages. BJ had a different experience than I did.
Right.
So.
Both my parents were at home, but it was kind of dysfunctional. So it was no real role model there, nothing to mimic coming up. Only thing that I took from it is that that's not how I want my household to be when I get my household together. That was the only lesson that I took from it.
But what has helped us is the church. When we found our ground, when we got grounded in the church and we joined marriage ministries and we attended marriage activities, we found our tribe, and our tribe encouraged us. So that's how we stay together,
right?
To be honest,
Florida and Richard, were there any examples that you all had?
I grew up in a household where my mom and dad, they had been together for like 20 something years before they got married. I used to see my mom go to work, come home, clean, cook. My dad would go to the store, buy all the food, buy the groceries, and he would cook too. But what I seen them do, I didn't realize I was doing it as a wife right now. Because I would cook, clean, and take care of the home, the household. And when I was younger, I would be like, I would pray to God. I said, God, give me a man that cleans and that's willing to learn how to cook, that's willing to take care of the kids, spend time with the kids, not just a man that's going to go to work and, provide. I wanted someone that was wholesome. And I ended up finding a man just like my dad, except for the cooking part. But he wants to learn how to cook, which I've been, slothful at showing him how to cook. But yeah, so I've seen my mom and dad, argue and stuff like that. And it's like the same thing to do to my dad, I do it to my husband. But I didn't witness anything bad. But what I witnessed, that everything I witnessed is what I want it to be and what I am today. So my mom and my dad is my role models.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Richard?
As far as me, my mom and my dad have always been in our lives. They always been together, but I didn't like the way, their relationship was. It was reckless. My role models, actually, because I was a TV fanatic as a kid, was coming from television. The Full Houses, the Family Matters, and different other shows that I call it what I think the Brave or something like that. The Brave, the Beavers, you know, things like that. You know, and I already had a picture in my mind what family and marriage is supposed to be and everything else, which was completely, not even close, right? You know, everything was perfect and everything else. So that's pretty much what so I pulled from that. This is what I pull from as me right now in reality in my real life, whatnot. Pull from these things that I've learned and the examples, the do's and the don'ts from reality with my parents, and the what you would call it, the TV. You know, the TV. I pull that mix in and whatnot to trying to build something and trying to figure out how to live my life and everything else. So that's pretty much where my role models and heroes and my do's and don'ts come from: television and my mom's parents, my mom and dad.
And our last couple, Charlie, I'm mixing y'all names, Fredleen and Charles.
People call me Charlie, so you're good.
I did not grow up with my mom and dad. Well, I did. My father left. My mom and my dad was never married, but my dad and my mom were in the house, of course. My mom was, she was working all the time. That's what I remember. They weren't married. My mom and my dad separated when I was 5. As far as a role model for marriage, no. Cindy? Oh, my older sister.
You lived with them. You lived with them.
No.
Sorry.
So I'm gonna say no. I didn't have a role model.
Okay, Charles.
Yeah.
My mom and my dad of 5 children. My role model was more so my dad than my mom, but in many ways it was my mom. And let me explain. My dad, he was the typical father. He would work, come home. He wouldn't play with his kids though. He would stay in the room and not play with his kids, not interact with his kids. The only time he would come out when it was time for wrestling on Saturdays. He would watch his wrestling shows, laugh, drink his beer, and go right back in the room. And that was it until it was time for him to go to work. I say that because when he took care of his wife, which was my mom, this man would hand clean her underwear in 7 different buckets. Like he would use 7 different buckets and take all of her personables, clean it, dip it, clean it, dip it, clean it, dip it, clean it. And I was like, wow, I want to do that for my wife. He would be the one that would cook. You know, he would be the one that would, you know, do what he needed to do and showed us, yeah, you know, daddy's not here, but he's here. You know, he wasn't here, but his presence was being felt. My mom was more so the disciplinarian. You know, she would discipline us and she would tell us, hey, listen, you got to do your homework. She would pull out the TV and throw it in the closet and say, you know, education is first. She was that type of person. But I look at my dad as the role model for how to be a good husband to his wife. But I look at my mom to be how in that retrospect on how to rear up the children. So that those in that way, that was my role model.
Wow, that's interesting how the gender roles were sort of reversed in your household, Charles. So that was one of our questions. What are your thoughts on gender roles? How does that impact your family? How does that look in your family? Do you have
I'm a very liberal person. I'm that type of person. If you want to take out the trash, I'm okay with it. If you say tomorrow I don't want to take out the trash, go ahead, baby, go take out the trash. I'm good with it. Now, in terms of doing mechanical stuff, fixing the lights and everything else, if you feel like you're knowledgeable to do it, that's fine. If I'm gonna find a way to do it, there's YouTube or whatever. If I can do it on myself, I can do it. I'll do it. But I don't think that there's a specific role for every person in the marriage. I just think it's more comfortable to what you want to do. If my wife says, listen, I want to take care of this or that and that, I'll say, okay, no problem. I don't have a problem cooking. I don't have a problem mopping the floor. I don't have a problem getting on my hands and knees and grinding the floor. I'm the type of person, I'm very liberal when it comes to the chores and the rules. But as far as me, you know, being the man in the house and saying, let me take on the bills. Let me Let me work and grind it out. If you want to go ahead and cook, that's fine. But let me take that role. Let me feel like I'm a man, and let me go out and hustle by any means necessary. If I got to work at Burger King, if I got to, wash somebody's feet, whatever it is I have to do to bring on the bacon, let me feel like a man doing it.
So it's like you're semi-traditional, but you're also liberal. Traditional in where you believe that the man should bring home the bacon. And you're more liberal where when you are home, you're open to, help around the home.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other thoughts on gender roles? And how does that look like in your household, in your marriage?
In our household, there's no gender roles here. We all do what it takes to make the household run smooth. There's been times where I did all the cooking and cleaning. There's been times where Mia did all the cooking and cleaning, but we both work, so we both bringing in income. And we have a house full of men anyway, so it'd be kind of hard to have gender roles.
Yeah, we have 3 sons. So, and I've taught, and I've also taught my sons that they need to know how to cook and clean, and they need to be compassionate and caring. So I'm constantly trying to expose them to non-traditional gender roles. But a quick story about how we don't have gender roles. So I went to college. When we came back from college, he stayed home with the baby while I went to college. I worked 9 to 5 and I went to college 6 to 10, 5 days a week in the evening. And he stayed home with the baby. I missed the baby walking. I missed all of that. He's like, you go finish college. I got the house. Okay. So funny. So he did all the doctor's appointments. I just basically pushed the baby out and he handled the next few years while I was working on college. But one day I had to take him to the doctor. And when I show up at the doctor's like, excuse me, who are you? I've never seen you before. Never. And I wasn't embarrassed. My family into traditional roles. Oh, that's a shame. You should be embarrassed. The doctor doesn't know you. No, it just wasn't convenient for our family because I was pursuing college, so that's just an example of how we don't have gender roles. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Anyone else want to answer that question before we move on?
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing become sorry, kids.
Pretty much we're saying that we're open. Like I said, I always see my dad working, taking care of the house. My mom did her thing as well. But I always feel like if I'm there doing it, I can handle it. I prefer her not to work. But if she chooses to work, I always tell it's on her and everything else. I just want to see my family. If I'm struggling, I don't want to see my wife struggling. If I'm at work and I know I don't want to be here, I want to work, I want to do my own thing, I want to be free, I don't want her to feel the same way. Like I always tell her, I prefer you not to work, but if you choose to, it's on you. But besides, if you stay home, you handle the kids and everything else, because she's been great. She's teaching the boys and the girls to do everything. Everybody's equal. Don't depend on nobody. Depend on yourself. Just if you don't get married or you don't have another family, everything, you can depend on yourself. You can cook for yourself. You clean for yourself. You take care of yourself. And if you have another partner, you go split. Y'all go half and half or whatever. Y'all need to go half on. So that's
my kids started cooking when they was 7, 5, 6, 7. Not 7, 5. They was going on the stove at 7 years old, making their eggs and stuff like that. So yeah. Yeah, he cleans better than me. Like I clean the house, but he deep cleans the house. Like on his off days, he'll come. He's great at arranging everything, like putting everything neatly. And by the end of the week, yeah, it's messed up, but
but he did it.
So let's shift a little bit and let's talk about romance. How do you keep the romance in relationships? I know Florida and Richard, you guys mentioned having 9 kids between the two of you. How do you keep the romance in relationship?
Listen, we have 9 kids. Not all the time the 9 are there, but Florida has her nephews. The house is always filled with kids.
Yeah.
And they love sleeping on the bed with us.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. I told her, I'm like, man, it seems like when we got married, everything kind of changed and kind of ceased. So I mean, we have our times when we do go out. Like I say, I work a lot. I work a lot, and it costs a lot of problems because at one point in time I was hardly home. The kids hardly see me. I get up before they get up, and by the time I get home, they're asleep. Florida used to always wait and everything else. It just got a couple as years went by, she just couldn't do it anymore. And the romance from time to time, it got rough, where it got real hard. That she says she feels like at times that she's a single parent,
married and single.
So we
That
do.
part people don't talk about.
So are you saying, Richard, that's still something that you all are trying to work on and figure out how does romance look like in your marriage with your dynamic?
Yes, it's gotten better because the promotions and the position I'm in at work and everything. I'm not have to work as much and everything else. But I still too from time to time, because it's been so long, I forgot what it was and how did I get her. The going out and the treating her and everything else. Yeah, so I'm still working on it even to this day.
Okay. And that's good. That's good for people to know that although you've been together for such a long time, because life happens, sometimes you have to sacrifice certain things in order to keep the house financially stable. It requires for you to work a lot. And so sometimes, things may lack, but then you can always come back to the drawing board and say, okay, I have to get things back together. Yeah.
Anyone else want to answer that question?
So comfortable.
She said, and does any?
Oh, is this an open forum? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I feel like I'm looking at Richard and I'm looking right in the mirror because we share the same sentiment, brother. I just feel like I'm never home. And I'm thinking like, okay, this is a means to an end. I got to do this so that way later on in life, we will enjoy life. Right. And there's some times where I'm coming home, I'm leaving at 6 a.m. Yeah.
Just last night, I just pulled a 16-hour shift and I have to go back. So I'm coming home and the kids are just about to wake up and I'm out the door. And by the time I come home, they're asleep. So, and that happens. So I feel like, wow, I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way. But when it comes to romance, I'm going to keep it real a little bit. I feel a little barbaric in my traditions because it's like quickies here and there. I'm like, okay, well, let's get it in. Come on, we got to do this. They in the other room. They playing their games and stuff like that. Let's get a quickie in or whatever. So we do that from time to time. What she said?
What was that?
That's how babies come. The quickie.
Yeah. That's why we have 3. Yeah. So
that's how we got ours.
Yeah. So if it's late at night and she decides to wake me up one day and she starts feeling on me, I'm like, okay.
No, it's the other way around. It's the other way around. For me, it's a little bit uncomfortable.
It's okay.
Let me say this. For me, it's a little bit uncomfortable because our 1-year-old is still in the bed with us, and because he's still in the bed with us because I still nurse him. So sometimes when he's giving me those love taps, 3 o'clock in the morning, and this baby on my breast is like, oh, this baby is, I'm feeding this baby, and you trying to get it, like, but we make it happen. As far as intimacy, I don't think we like in that area. I think the romance part is where we need work on, like, more dating, spontaneous trips, buy me some flowers just because, write me a love note. I know. Am I talking too long?
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Write me love notes. I know before we got married, and I used to get these what is those things, those little notepads or whatever. I used to take notepads and write love notes, different scriptures and stuff like that. I would put it on the mirror in his room, in his bathroom. I would write love notes, put it in his shoes when he's going to work, and he's getting ready to put the shoes in, put his foot in the shoe. He's like, oh, wait a minute, something's in here. It's the love note. So that's what I do. I would say that I'm the romantic person. He is romantic as well, but we that's the area of our marriage that we need to work on. Yeah. So yeah.
So I think that's an ongoing for all couples. And those seasons that you guys are in, we've been there. Our kids are older now, so our youngest is 14. So we have gotten to the point where our marriage comes first. We be looking at them kids like they be like, where you going? We going on a date. Okay, you not taking us? Mm-mm. Well, what we gonna eat? It's some hot dogs, and we out the door. Okay, so we have chosen to prioritize us. We were not good at this earlier in our marriage. It was probably around year 18 where we said, if we don't get it together, we're gonna lose each other. We're gonna we're gonna grow so far apart if we don't start prioritizing our marriage. People be like, how can you fall out of love with somebody? What did they do? We just did not nurture it. Anything you don't water won't grow, and we can't expect it not to. So we've been in your season. We made it through, but now our relationship is priority. So the romance, I still have a problem because I feel he don't schedule stuff. I would like him to schedule more things. I'm kind of the scheduler, but he's down for whatever. Since we have a house full of kids, we have to take the freak out the house sometimes. So that means we got to go get a room in West Palm, something. Okay. So you ain't got to be quiet. Okay.
Okay. So how important is it for marriages to, and BJ, you can take this one too. How important is it for you to spend time with your spouse without the children around? Like how important that is that to a marriage?
That to me is very important because that's what strengthens your bond. And it's not always about having sex. It's just the time, the talks, the communicating, just going out and having fun, just enjoying each other. You can't really do that, right? You can't do that with them pulling on you and asking questions and saying, I need you to help me with this or trying to come. So
and I nursed the baby too. I nursed two of them. So I had to pump the milk to be able to leave it so I can go on a dinner date, so I've been there.
Okay. It's very important. Spending solo time with her alone.
Okay, we see Richard in Florida. You guys have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to add that majority of the time, well, we didn't know it until we got married, but when I was younger though, when I was younger, my mom and my dad, they used to always argue at night. And we used to be in the other room like, yo, he trying to get some. The old girl mad, she going off. One time the old girl, my mom went in the kitchen, got some water and threw it on him late night. This is like all the time. So my dad he tell like right now we would speak about those things and he was like, oh, your mom ain't give me some. We didn't have sex for a whole year. Like years would go by. And that's why he ended up stepping out. So I'm like, within our marriage, we didn't have time to even have any romance, time for ourselves. We didn't have none of that because the baby came, first baby came, then the twins came, and then the last one came. It was like back to back. So romance and being sexually active with one another wasn't something that we did. So he worked, I'm at home with the kids, we're living at his parents' house, we're sleeping on the ground at his parents' house. So we didn't get a chance to do any romance. And if we did, it was quickies and then a baby came. So it was like back to back. So we didn't have time for ourselves. We had to pay attention to the kids. And my mind is on cooking, cleaning, making sure the clothes is washed, his clothes is ironed for work, the kids are straight, they're eating the right stuff, taking them to the doctor. So at night, my mind is still running for what's going to happen for tomorrow, what I got to plan for tomorrow, what's going on, what happened through the day. And then when he comes, I have no intimacy, nothing. I don't want to have sex. Don't touch me. The kids are sleeping. You're going to wake the kids up. Like, I didn't have any sexual desires because my mind was basically on taking care of the household. So that took a toll on our marriage. Like, yeah, we would probably not have sex for like 2 months, 3 months. I think 3 months is the longest, right? 3 months was the longest.
I'm
It's
sure
like,
Richard can remember.
oh yeah, minute, hour, and second. But yeah, 3 months was the longest. I'm like, I didn't want that for me. I didn't want that for us because my mom and my dad had that issue. So yeah, because my mom was hard, boy. My mom took that water and threw it on him. Yo, if you don't leave me alone, had a knife and everything. Like, we in our beds and we're hearing these things because we're from a Haitian background. Haitians have no filter. They're gonna say whatever in front of whoever, the kids, whatever. They don't care. So I was like, we sat down with each other, we spoke, we gotta make time. We have to make time for one another. We have to go out. We have to, if we gotta rent a room, we got to.
Because you can not be in a relationship and still maintain the family. You can be divorced and still maintain the family, but to maintain the marriage, you need that one-on-one time. You need that one-on-one. Yes,
that's a word.
I need to be away from everything, the kids, the noise, everything, the friends, the family, and just you.
Let me ask you, Richard, and it's you and Fredleen, and maybe BJ and Mia can quickly jump in. How were you all able to do that with so many children and they were back to back? So obviously the age plays a factor. Fredleen is nursing her children. How were you able to actually get away from the children with them being so young and so close together in age?
From time to time, we have Florida mom would watch him, her dad, but mainly it was my daughter.
Nobody watched them.
Shanae,
but we never had our kids at no one's house.
It was my which is Florida's daughter, but our oldest daughter.
Oh yeah, she was 7 years old.
7 years old, and hey, can we just watch? Because our family was around. We let them know, hey, if anything, everything else, but because she held it out for us, just for us to to take those time. It wasn't much, but from time that when we do go out, it was her just holding the kids down and everything else, and she went through it. Even to this day, we talk about it. We always thank her and everything else, and that's our daughter, the oldest.
And Charles and Fredleen, what do you all do to get time away from the kids?
It's far in between. We're always with the kids.
Yeah. When we don't have a good support system, just like Richard, I just feel like we're mirroring each other right now. We don't have a good support system in terms of who we can trust to properly care for our kids in our absence. And it's always in the back of our mind, like, what if something happens? If we hand them off to the wrong people. Her mom was very influential. Flo's mom was very influential into helping us, but it had to take for our water to run dry for us to realize, man, we got to spend time with each other.
Yeah.
And then we were like, you know what, we got to because her mom is not in the best of health, and to pawn our kids off to her.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. We have 3 young children. So and they get into everything. We have 6-year-old, 3-year-old, and our son is going to be 2 in 2 weeks. So the thought of giving someone 3 little children who get into everything, it's like we better off just either going with them or we don't do it
at all.
Yeah. Not going at all.
Just last week, we went to Orlando for our anniversary. We had to take the kids with us. So,
wow.
So BJ, Mia, you all been there, done that. I'm sure y'all happy to be on the other side of things. What advice can you give not only these 2 couples, but other couples like myself? I have a 4 and a 2-year-old, so I can definitely relate to the Pierres and the Innocents when it comes to that.
Well, ours is slightly different. Our kids were spaced out. So between the first 2 is 7 years, and between the second 2 is 5 years. So it was a little rougher because when we wanted to do something, we kind of had to split the first 2 up. The older kid had, he had older cousins, so we'll have my sister-in-law may watch him, and the little one.
Because nobody wanted to take all 3 kids, and nobody wanted the breastfeeding baby that was hollering and screaming.
Oh, that's the other thing.
Yeah. So we would have to split them up. They never went the same place. So that was one thing. And then it was a lot for somebody to take on 3 kids. So, but we always had somebody. I could rarely think of a time where we could say we want to go somewhere and we don't have a sitter. We had a great support system. And then when our older son got about 12, we just used to put him to sleep and leave. We'll put the other two to sleep, and the 12-year-old would be like, don't go to the door. And we got 13 cameras around the house, and we got the alarm. Call us. And we just would put him to sleep. And we knew that if we put the baby down, he was gone for the night, because we had trained him to sleep through the night, number 2 and number 3. So the older one would just play his video game all night, and we would stay in the vicinity. So we live on 441. We just going to Aventura, or we don't go that far. And I just remember that it's so many different seasons. So we didn't go that. So another thing, if you got like teenage 16-year-old cousins, neighbors, whatever, we had some of that too. So we used to pay them. They'll come over and they'll just sit, but we never went far. Aventura, 10 minutes away from the house. So if something went wrong, we could get back fast.
Yeah.
So,
Great advice.
It is great advice. And I think I'm sitting here smiling, y'all, because thank the Lord. Like this was my support system, y'all. So I'm gonna say from the day one of me getting married, my husband and I were able to go away every year for 1 full week with us. This was before she was a mama, and she would be in there manning the kids. You know, it was 2 at the time, but she took care of everything. And so I'm sitting here like, whoo, thank you, Jesus. Because that week it helped us a lot. Let's talk about some difficulties in marriage. What were some difficult times that you had in marriage, and how did you all get through it? Let me start with Charles and Fredleen.
Losing our first child. Yeah. So we lost 2. We lost one when I was 5 months pregnant, and we lost another one when I was 4 months pregnant. That was one of the hardest things that we went through.
Yeah. And how did you all get through that? How long ago was this, by the way?
It's within the 7-year range of our marriage. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was maybe 2 years apart from our 7 years.
Okay.
And how did you all get through that season in your life, in your marriage?
Prayer, counseling with our pastors, and friends, just, reassuring us that, this too shall pass, and, time heal all wounds. We talked about the issues. We talked about, what if it happens again? And, with us being, a spiritual family, we know that our children, at least we can say 2 of them is in heaven right now. You know what I'm saying? So we looked at it from that perspective, saying that God chose to take them home early for a reason. So we looked at it from that perspective, and it gave us hope to know that we can still move on with life, knowing that they're in good hands, so.
Okay. Florida and Richard?
Yep. Go ahead. For real? Yeah.
Y'all still thinking?
Nah, go ahead.
No, go.
It was my previous, dealing with my baby moms. He didn't like the fact that I got married, and she would prefer that I would have 2 baby mamas, right? So she felt, because I guess in her words, that she wasn't worthy to be a wife. And she know how I was, because I told her from, every relationship I've been before, I already let them know I'm not going to go as far as I'm going to go. I'm not giving my heart out, and she understood that, and she was willing to deal with it. And when she see that I no longer felt that way, that, man, now you say you love someone and you're ready to marry that person, she didn't take that well. And she tried to give Florida real hell, and trying to bring hell to the marriage. And it was difficult at times, because I still wanted, because she kind of like used the kids as an issue. The girls that come over, Florida, do their hair is always a problem. It's a lot. It was a lot, and He came out Florida, and Florida had to deal with it. And I'm always telling Florida, be the better person, be the big person, because at the time we was transitioning, we were getting our spiritual life right and everything else, and be the better person. Don't don't go for it. But she would always throw things, especially with the past, the relationship that we had, things whatnot that would trigger Florida whatnot to react in a way that she wanted her to react, and it just for a good 3 years of heartache. Yeah. 3 of heartache, and me too, not listening to Florida, whatnot, just because I always tell her what I want this relationship with my kids, and I understand in order to have a relationship with my kids, I gotta have some type of relationship with my baby moms. So I allow her to do certain things, get away with a lot of things, whatever, including disrespecting my wife in certain areas, whatnot, for me to have this relationship with the kids, because I didn't want to lose it. And because it was hard, but as from little by little, whatnot, as I was listening and taking what Florida was saying, and I was applying them, whatever, it kind of like pushed away. And she found her place in life too, whatnot, where she got better, and that she was somewhat able to move on, and that's how we was doing with it and dealing with it.
So I have a follow-up question based on what you said for Florida. And my question is, there are lots of women that are going through this same thing, right? I'm saying we, but in a relationship with someone, I love this person, but that other person they were with, their ex, the baby mama, whomever it is, as he said, putting us through hell. How did you get through it? I know what he's saying and what he did, but can you talk to us from your perspective? What made you stay in this thing? Like, what made you stay?
Yeah.
I want to choose my words wisely, because the person isn't here to defend themselves.
Right.
So it was hard. It was hard, but I always try to befriend or try to make it right. It hurts because the kids was involved, and it was going smoothly. We had the kids. We would have the kids one day, and then the next they're ripped out of our the household because of a hairdo. It was like, and then it was things I would tell him to do, he wouldn't do it, and then everything would just crumble. Like it's a fight, it's a fuss. I'm like, no, you can't do it like that. So and then our pastor would get involved, and he was like, well, don't let Richard have a conversation with her. If she wants something or she wants to do something, have her speak to you, Florida. And I thought that was the right way to do it, and that's how we were doing it. But I don't think that was the right way of doing it. She should have been able to communicate with him or whatever, because that's the father of her kid. Yeah. But it just wasn't healthy. It was not healthy at all. And I disliked it. That the argument, because I'm family orientated. I love kids. I watch everybody kids. Like, I'm homeschooling, drop their kids off. I'm like, yo, my kids don't go to school for a reason. Like, they're not going to school because of COVID. So I stayed home. I'm home teaching them. But people would still want to drop their kids off because they know that I'm home. So, yeah, I think I'm like going off topic, but yeah, like I dealt with it. I wanted to fight because I'm a fighter. I always want to fight. Like, I want to strangle. I want to go to somebody's house and argue. I was immature. And I believe on the other end it was the same thing. But I realized the woman, she was hurt. She was hurt. I was hurt. He was hurt. We all was hurt. We didn't have the tools to deal with it the right way. We didn't have the tools to know how to approach it, but we tried to approach it in a manner that we're all adults. Marriage is for grown-ups. Relationship is for grown-ups. Kids are for grown-ups. If you're grown, you're going to approach things in a grown-up way. And we tried so many ways of doing things. It just, it just end up all wrong because emotions were involved. Like, I think once a person moves on with their life, get into another relationship, their mind would be on a totally different, you know, their focus would be on something else. So I don't want to bash anyone. I just want to, you know, my experience is my experience. And it was bad, and then it was good, and then it was bad, and then listen. We all know, because we've been in relationships even when we was younger in high school, where we had to deal with that other girl, or you know, yeah. So yeah, but in a marriage, it's not. You just have to be able to understand what our roles is, and let's come together and take care of the kids together, not manipulate the kids, or not use the kids as weapon, or not use the man as a weapon, or you know, things like that. So we end up getting it right. Like,
good.
That sounds
we're good now.
I think that's good for people to hear. I know we have a couple of people, or a couple that have to wrap up pretty soon. A question we have is, you guys know we did like a singles panel, and singles are wanting to be married. So our question is, what is some advice you would give to single people looking for a mate, looking to be married? What is something you would say to them? And I'm going to kind of roll back and start with Charles and Fredleen, because I know they will soon have to drop off.
For me, I would say don't go into the marriage with expectations, because, you know, a lot of people, well, from going by the singles panel, he was like, okay, I want my man to be this way, or I want my woman to be that way. But I would say don't go into the marriage with expectations. And definitely when you have children, it will change the dynamics of the marriage. So be open-minded, and not think that it's a fairy tale, because it's what you make it. It takes time. It takes dedication, you know, it takes constantly working at it, adjusting. So that's what I would leave for the people who's wanting to get married. Definitely don't go into the marriage with expectations. Think of it as it's something that you have to constantly work at. When the hard times come, I wasn't ready for this. I didn't expect this. You have to be open-minded. That's what I was.
Yeah, I would say, don't go in with selfish motives. If you have selfish motives and you're thinking, well, I want this to be my way, then you're gonna have a hard time your very first year of marriage, because you remember it is two people coming together from two different aspects of life, trying to become one, and then trying to make it work. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, no, I'm gonna have it this way, whether you like it or not. And if you have selfish motives, it's gonna be a very hard marriage until you break out of that mold and say, you know what, I need to be more selfless. And if I'm doing whatever it takes for my wife to be in a good place, she's gonna then in turn make sure she does everything for me to be in a good place. And that's how you come together. But you gotta take the selfishness out.
And you was married before.
And I was married before, so I learned from my previous marriage.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Charles and Fredleen. We know that, like you said, you have to go back into work. So we thank you for your time. And
thank you for the opportunity.
It was fun.
All right. Thank you. So we'll continue with our two couples here for a couple more minutes before we drop off. So Mia and BJ, the original question was, what's a challenging time that you had in your marriage, and how did you get through it?
We're trying to talk about a challenging season. And I think the toughest one, for the sake of time, was when we stopped nurturing the marriage and we were considering divorce. We had outgrown each other. I mean, we fell out of love. I fell out of love. Let's stop it back. I fell out of love, and I was depressed, and I did not want to come home. I felt taken for granted. I felt unappreciated. I didn't feel that he was putting any effort into the marriage anymore. I felt we were operating as roommates, to be totally candid. Like the young man said, I don't know, I think Richard said it when he talked about you could maintain a family, but you cannot, so you have to maintain that marriage, you know? And we weren't good at that. We were good at making money, running houses, running businesses, but we were not prioritizing our relationship. And we grew up, I grew away. He said his heart never changed, but mine did. I wanted to be anywhere else but here because I just did not feel good. I did not feel loved. I did not feel wanted. And I did not feel appreciated. So that was a very tough season for us because I definitely asked for divorce because I felt I was too young to be in a relationship like that. We went to counseling. Okay, so we went to counseling. We did not do marriage counseling together. We did separate counseling. And it's interesting because I was seeing my counselor how to figure out and talking to her about how to figure out how to be single because I've been with this man since I'm 18. He's my only adult relationship. So I'm like, how do I be single? And he was talking to his counselor about.
Yeah, he was trying to see what was going on and trying to keep the marriage together. So it's two different subjects being spoken about in the counseling. So her counselor is telling her, oh, well, you don't need to stay there. You need to do this. You need to do that.
That's what I went for. I went and told her that's what I wanted. She wasn't trying to speak against it, but he went to his counselor and said, how do I save my marriage? How do I get my wife back? And right. And that's why we always talk about you need a positive tribe and I always tell him he needs to write the man a letter because that man pointed out some things to him and showed him another point of view. So he would see him weekly.
Bi-weekly.
Yeah, and he would go and they would have, and I didn't know this is what they were talking about, but he would come back and say, my counselor told me I needed to see it from this point of view. And I'm just not to make things so spiritual, but at the time, one of my girlfriends who was single came to me and she said, Mia, I know you want out, but let's fast and pray because I don't believe that you're supposed to leave. And we fasted and prayed. He talking to his counselor praying. And one day God turned it all around. And we started and that's when I say we started to prioritize our marriage. Because what we realized is we stopped nurturing the bond. We were growing fit. Our bank accounts were looking good. Our kids were doing good, but our marriage was horrible. Okay. And it's not that we were fussing and fighting. There was no infidelity. People want to make it
negative.
Yeah, they'll come down and say, well, what happened? Why are you here? We didn't nurture it. We didn't feed it. We didn't put anything into it, and it fell apart. He was working all the time. I was working. We just were not making each other a priority. So we had to turn that around, and God restored it. And we are so grateful. But right now, like it's me and him. Because those kids gonna move on and get wives and they're gonna be looking back at us like whatever. They're not even here right now, except one. So it's just us, and we had to learn that. So
well, let me piggyback off of that because I know you said that was very early in your marriage and things like that.
That was years. That was like years
5 or 6, something like that.
No.
Okay, and that's my question. Actually.
No. I take that back. No, I'm sorry.
That was like year 17.
It wasn't that far on.
Yeah, it was like year 17.
No, yeah, it wasn't that far.
But go ahead with your question.
Well, my question was regarding the 7-year itch.
I'm sorry.
2015. Go ahead. So
my question was regarding the 7-year itch, and that can be whatever number, 15, 14, whatever, 12, 10. That itch that people say happens in a marriage where, like you said, you sort of separate and you tend to put your trust or maybe even conversations with people of, opposite sex or just people other than your husband or your wife. Do you think that played a role in what was happening? Or do you think it's even a real thing, the 7-year itch?
I don't know, because our first 2 years were very difficult just because, so I think it's really 2 years that you struggle. I never had anybody in my ear speaking negativity. So I didn't have that. I also don't believe I believe that as long as you surround yourself with positive people that have good intentions, because a man or a woman can have bad intentions and want to tear your marriage up. So it doesn't have to be opposite sex. It could be the same sex too, and they plotting against you. But I don't know about the 7-year itch. The first 2 years were our hardest because we were trying to figure out what was going on and what this marriage means, and we didn't know what we was doing. So
from when I speak with people, it's between 5 and 7 years they start having a lot of problems and issues. So it could be. I've heard a lot of them between the first 5 and 7 years. I say once, and usually once they get past that, they done clash. Their histories done came together and they done figured their situation out, or they done decided to just leave it alone.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Florida, Richard, what do y'all think of this 7-year itch or X number of years itch?
I have from the time I was young, like I said, I used to be around a lot of older folks that's happily married, and what they have told me pretty much, it's from what they say, is like, it's just the word. You know, it's not true. Then the ones that I've heard, the younger version, yeah, they watch out for that 7-year itch, that 5-year itch, is because you get comfortable. You know, because the old folks, they know what it was, what not, to spend time with the family, spend time with their mates and everything else. But this younger generation, they get so distracted with many things, you know, with Instagram or hanging out with their friends and everything. They never leave that single life alone too much. So that neglect is there. So I believe, yes, if you fall into that and you don't give the time that you need, yeah, that 7th itch will come, because you get, you know, y'all grow apart without even realizing y'all growing apart. You feel me? You don't give the time that you need. And so, yeah, when that 7 years come, then it happens. But the older folks that I've spoken to, that say they have issues in their marriage, but not like that 7 year or that 5-year span where they have issues now. So I would say, really, I don't believe in that. No.
But did we have one?
We personally, we started off rough, so we don't even know if it's
hard. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard.
Listen, I'm gonna join in with y'all and say I don't know about 7 years, but I know them first 3 years. I was one of the people saying, "What did I sign up for? This ain't for me, David. Let me just get out of this thing early." So I would agree with you guys. I don't know about the 7-year itch. And before I ask my last question, something that kept coming to my mind that I say a lot is, I think in relationships, we have to also realize, because we focus on our kids and we focus on things a lot, because you are a good mother or a father, it does not make you a good spouse.
Oh, that's true.
And so,
that's true.
And I remember in the beginning of my marriage, that was our big thing. My husband worked and he did, and he's like, and I was like, that don't mean you a good husband. And so I had to realize the same for me. Just because I'm a good mother, it doesn't make me a good wife. So I want to put that out there so that we can remember, as I think Mia said, to nurture our marriages, to take time for us, because we're in this thing. The kids gonna grow up and leave us, as you said, but we're in this thing. And so here's our final question.
One thing before you ask your last question, I just wanted to give advice to singles. I think one thing when you are courting is to have realistic conversations. So let's talk about expectations. Let's talk about gender roles. Let's talk about what you think this relationship is supposed to be like. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about your spending habits. Let me see your credit report. What are your goals? Okay, because if we come in, oh, I love you, all that wear off when them bills start coming in, okay, and stuff start getting turned off, and it's not adding up, and you frustrated because I ain't cooked, but you got here first, so why you ain't cooked? You know, what are the expectations? So we gotta have, they need to have realistic conversations, and I think a lot of times you ignore red flags because you want this, well, as women, because I don't think men be so signed up to get married, but we as women, we want to be married so bad, we overlook that he's saying, I need you to do all the cooking and cleaning. And I ain't really want to sign up for that, you know, but you're overlooking that because you want a husband. So just to have realistic, I think that'll save a lot of heartache if you talk about the real deal. And if I'm a saver and you balling out spending, we gonna clash, you know, so we got to talk about these things, you know.
Definitely that.
Well, I used to be a spender. And I think he put some roots on me or something, because I don't even like it no more. Okay, but
I don't know if you're getting that itch again. I got to watch out. You got to give him an oil.
So that does lead into the last questions, because we said, what are some misconceptions of marriage you'd like to correct? And so I'll open it and say, what are some other things that, even not misconceptions, that you would like to add in that people may not realize about marriage as they're looking? Because again, everybody want a man, everybody want a woman. Well, and I'm gonna speak from, like Mia said, most women are the ones eager to be married. And so what are some things you would like to speak to? And I'll throw this in there and then y'all can mix it up how you want. We, in our last couple of videos with the single women, there are a lot of talks about the nice guy and this and that, and him finishing last and him not finishing last. So what are some misconceptions about marriage you'd like to clear up, and any advice you'd like to give for our singles that are watching, for married couples that are newly married in this thing and they're like, I don't think this for me.
To me, marriage is not a TV show. I know Richard, was one of y'all said, y'all got y'all counseling from the Huxtables and the Beavers, and no, it's not. And there's no handbook to it. And when you enter in it, like Mia said, you have to know these questions. You got to know the expectations coming in, because if you don't, then you're opening the door to something that you just peeking through and trying to figure out, okay, which way I'm gonna go. No, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and there's no handbook to it. It's no right way and no wrong way. It's your way, how you all are going to handle it. Because a relationship is the clashing of two histories. So when that clash comes together, you got to know how to handle it.
Yeah, just like I always tell my friends that's married and those that's thinking about getting married, I always let them know. And a lot of people said, I heard the young lady said before that your expectations don't have one. I say, no, have your expectation. Know what you want, right? Know your worth and discuss that, because this is not a girlfriend, boyfriend when things doesn't work out anymore. Okay, I want out. Man, you tying things together, you becoming married. So everything that this person owns and this person is, that's what you're becoming now. Y'all becoming one, right? And it's kind of hard to go through the process. You just can't walk off and leave. You have to go through the whole process of divorce, messing up your credit history and everything else, breaking up a family, your kids, separation, and everything else. So, sit down and talk with your spouse and y'all figure it out. I mean, you're the person that you're with, and figure out, if this is for y'all. You know what I'm saying? This is the person that I am. This is the person I'm looking for. This is what I want. Yeah. And if you can't provide it, we can't go through this, because we're going to have hell in this marriage. We're going to have hell. Can you support me? Because I don't want to work. You know what I mean? I don't want no kids. Do you want to have kids? So you want to sit down and just let all this reality out, because you don't want to have to find this out after you're married. Where all the issues and all the problems come.
Yeah, and then you get to figure out if you want to compromise with some of the expectations that you do have. So
and that's where you feel less than a person, because now you have to receive what this person want, what you didn't want. You didn't want kids, but this person want kids. Now you have kids that you didn't want. Now you're miserable because you're watching over this kid, and so you're not ready to be a mom, and you don't want to be a mom. Now you're watching the kid and you looking at the kid that this is a miserable life, and then go take tolls on your marriage, and now you're divorced and everything else. It's you don't want that headache. You want to have the expectation and to just lay it out. This is what it is. This is what I want. And there's people out there that's willing to give that to you. Some people that don't want kids too. Some people that don't mind you spending. Some people don't mind you staying home. Some people want you to work. If I work, I want you to work too. We're going to work hard together, and we're going to build this. That you just want to lay that foundation out, that at least your foundation as well. So when other things that's coming out, into your marriage, whatnot, y'all know y'all can stand strong, because you're going to sit down. Y'all going to talk about how we're going to handle this. Now we have our kid, and our kid's being, he's one of them bad little kids. How are we going to handle this kid? You don't want to have a shaky foundation, and everything else, whatnot, your building is, you're going to fall apart. And you just want to build that foundation first,
You said a word right there.
Okay.
You said a word.
Well, thank you all so much. We truly appreciate it. BJ and Mia, Richard in Florida, Charles and Fred Lean. We thank you all so much. This is really good. Very inspiring to know that, there are Black couples out there, not perfect, still working through some issues, still learning, but understand the importance of having a healthy marriage, and why it's important to stick together and work through things. And to definitely value that marriage. So we thank you all so much for your time. So those of you out there, please follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk La Vie. Let's Talk La Vie at gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. And please leave comments, subscribe, all of that great stuff. And definitely leave some comments for Richard in Florida, BJ and Mia, Fredline and Charles. If you all have any questions, we'll definitely shoot it out to them, and we may do a part 2 possibly.
Yeah.
But share, if you really like this, share it with other people who will be able to glean from this experience here.
And again, we thank the couples and thank you for following and joining Let's Talk.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.